Hello, what's going on, guys? This is V, the Crusade. I know I sound pretty tired and exhausted because I had one day's worth of work done, but nevertheless, I'm still making videos. If you haven't checked my previous videos, I highly suggest making them, guys do, because in every video, I discuss a different topic on nationalism. I believe each of my videos offer their own unique set of values. So let's begin. You can already tell at this point that each of my videos has something to do with survival. I'm essentially a character arming yourself or myself against a horde of zombies. I'm always shooting and defending myself against creatures, anything that I know is a threat to my existence. But to what existence, or to whose existence are we so concerned? Well, that is the concern of our identity, our nationalism. So, how does one simply defend his or her identity? Well, to do that, you must first know what your identity is. So, for instance, I know, like, say, Germans, they particularly prefer their own people over others. They identify themselves as Germans and nothing else beyond that. And it's interesting because while that is the case, they are more than likely able to assimilate with other Europeans who share similar family trees, but nevertheless they prefer their own groups over others, whether it be through friendship or marriage relationships or vice versa. Now, after knowing who you are, you gotta know where your identity ends, or I should say, the limits, the confinements of your identity. So, this is like a topic, say, I would talk about with my friends. I'll kindly and politely ask them, like, what is your ethnicity? What's your background? What is your heritage? Your ancestry? And more likely, in some cases, I'll get faces like, huh? What? Like, just complete shocked monkeyless, or a polar bear going extinct look. That's all I get is their expressionless face just zoning out. And I get that because, this is just something that some people just don't. They've kind of been raised to not really think about too much. So, for instance, a lot of my friends are white, and I ask them, "So, what is your background?" Most of them can't even give me a solid answer, and then maybe one or two probably will give me something more along the lines of, "Oh well, my parents were Scottish," or "But my parents come from England or from France," and so you at least get something. That's the thing by limit. You really gotta know where you come from, because where you come from is kind of a lineage to historical grievances and what do we call that? Historical trials and tribulations. So, say for instance, the French, we commonly pair them up with the English because they historically have gone to wars against each other. They're close neighbors to each other, and the list can go on. But they also have faced a great threat known as the Muslims, because the Muslim was taking over just pretty much the southern area of Europe, all across Italy and France and Italy. They've kind of created their own group called the Crusade that we now know and love. And the Crusade is a group of French and Italian and some Germanic people defending their homeland from these invaders. So this is why it's important to know, to draw the line, to know the limits of your ancestry, of your identity, of your heritage, because not only does it inform your decision, it also informs you who the enemy are and informs you the particularities of the segmentation of how our society is essentially amalgamating and blending in our identities, when really we are totally distinct from each other. So, lastly, of course, how do we actually do the real defense itself? Well, that has to do with psychology first before physicality. You see, so a lot of the ideas that we adopt nowadays are pretty pro foreign invaders, pro invasion, pro a lot of Zionism, and pro libertarianism. But again, where does libertarianism come from? It comes from liberty. It comes from the idea of liberty. But where does that come from? It comes from, again, from the Zionists, from the people who are liberating themselves from Rome. A lot of different outgroups. Jews, they don't really jive with you. They're just there to reach out like a host, reach out to the host and reap from the benefits of their victims. And it's the way they operate, essentially. And I understand, because Israel is a really small country. And I should say, I should say the group of people, okay, the Jews. They're a small group of people needing to survive through smart, tactical ways. And well, I understand that. I mean, they are essentially still taking advantage of the country in such a way that will cause harm, even if it means their benefit and their prosperity. It will be harmful to us, to the West. So there's the psychology. We need to go past beyond the lines of how we were raised. I'm pretty sure in school you've been taught the all-quiet on the Western Front and Nazi Germany, and those two are kind of like a paradigm of sorts, because the way they're taught is sort of like the opposite. It's like when the English teacher goes through that book, the quiet book, it's almost as if we're patronizing the Germans, where we feel bad for them because they're brought into a war that they never wanted, a war that they just by accident got themselves into. And a lot of people, young men who fought in that war, young Germans, they didn't want to fight because they were forced or compelled, but essentially they were brainwashed to fight for their elites, the people in power, and therefore we, as the audience, feel bad for them because we understand them. We can collectively and logically, rationally understand the predicament of humans, of people being drafted or being answered because they feel like they're doing what's honorable to their country, defending and protecting their people, which is a wrong thing. But it comes with a cost, and of course it's not clear cut like that, because oftentimes it's just really to the benefit of the power, those in power, the people, the persons in charge. Those in power are the ones who behold the benefits of whatever war they wage, and we can understand that But at the same time, at school they also teach you the Holocaust and the bad things about it. And of course, I mean, it's not really an argument in terms of war crimes like harming people who are unarmed. And there's also historical relevance and context to that. But that will be for a separate video. But aside from that, it's really a narration of we need to love the Jews, we need to love the Jews, we need to promote this sense of multi-culturalism together. It's just, this is really the idea of Susan and Taylor Martin. So these are one of the things that we need to know, come to conclusions with, and understand, and find our identities, and to know how we can defend ourselves. That's all I want to really talk about in this video. If you like this video, I'm still making more content, and as always, stay tuned for more in the future.